Hello and welcome to the 17th gathering of the Adventure Party on this, the 19th of July. I'm your party leader, Brad Ludwig. We ask that you peace tie your swords, holster your blasters, and make sure you don't confuse Robert E. Howard and Edgar Rice Burroughs while you're gathered at the meeting table. It's a callback to our episode with Kenneth Haidt that we had yesterday, in which I started to have a discussion and actually had the two confused, and I felt like quite a dork. So there you go. Anyways, moving on. My second in command here is Glenn Bittner, and appreciate having him along for the ride. He is a movie reviewer. He has a YouTube channel show called the B-Movie Bunker, and he is also the creator of the RPG Mistrunner. How are you today, Glenn?
Yep, I'm doing good.
That wasn't in English. What was that?
He likes to. His thing is he likes to hit me with some kind of accent or some kind of something.
Fantastic.
Trying to do his best to throw me off is how that goes.
I think we should both do
I
it.
take
Just the whole
great
time.
offense at you thinking that my native tongue is some way to throw you off, Brad.
See, I'm so used to it. Sorry, and the other voice that you are hearing is Benjamin Loomes, and he is from Australia. And we are recording this at 9 p.m. Central Time, and it is noon, well, a little after noon, in Sydney, Australia. You are based. You are in. Sorry.
Yeah, so I should speak in a broad Australian accent the whole time and go up at the end of my sentences like that all the time. Sorry, okay, we're being serious. Yes, I am based in Sydney, which is freezing cold at the moment. We've had unseasonably, well, it is winter, but it's never usually sort of below 10 degrees centigrade. I have no idea what that is in Fahrenheit. And we had snow right up in Queensland and snow pretty much all over the east coast, except where I live, where it's just been cold rain, which has been not very thrilling at all.
Yeah, that can't be good. And yeah, it's winter season on that side of the globe. So it's and we did see some news here. You don't think of snow in Australia, and it does happen. But when as an American you see that, you're like, wow, but it's so hot, and there's you hear about water and drought issues in some parts of Australia. You don't really make that connection of, hey, they get snow too in some parts of Australia. So that's been kind of an eye-opener. Benjamin works for Syrinscape, and for our listeners who have been listening to our earlier episodes, we talked about Syrinscape releasing an audio package for Rise of the Rune Lords for Paizo's Pathfinder, and it was so fascinating to us that we really wanted to reach out to the folks at Syrinscape, and Benjamin was kind enough to lend his time to speak to us and give us a little bit more insight into Syrinscape and what they can offer for your RPG settings when you play games. So
Fantastic.
Thank you.
I look forward to it.
We're glad you're here, and you have a wonderful background in music. I was just doing a little.
Yeah.
I feel a little creepy doing some of the background stuff to find out more about the guests. So, but you're the musical director at the Artology's Watt Opera project.
Yes, Watt Opera is an amazing project where we go into a school, a musical director, so I'm the composer and pianist and conductor and a director, so a theatrical director, and also an assistant, and we go into a school for a day a week for 5 weeks, and high school kids get to write an operatic work, meaning a drama with music and words and acting from scratch, and they have complete creative control over it, which some of them take quite a while to accept. You're not going to tell us anything we're not allowed to do. We could do toast in space. Yep, go for it. If you want to do toast in space, it's absolutely up to you. And it's basically no swearing and no sort of disrespect, basically. And apart from that, they can investigate any topics they like. And the dramatic works they produce are quite incredible and remarkable. So yeah, I'm a singer and a pianist and work a lot as a musician, and I'm absolute massive tabletop gaming fan as well. So music at the
wonderful.
table and really, really realistic, live, natural music, just like in a movie, that adds to your game rather than distracting the GM or distracting the players is sort of a total logical thing for me, and that's why I built Syrinscape.
Oh, that's wonderful. And you've already answered one of the questions I was going to ask you. So boom, we're off to the races already. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with our game review. Then we're going to go to the gaming news, talk about our Kickstarter Spotlight, and then we are going to jump right into the interview with Benjamin Loomes. So, Glenn, what do you have for us this time out for review?
Well, do you like your food spicy? Because I do, which means I like peppers. And we have the game Scoville. Scoville came out just last year. It's by Ed Marriott, and it's put out by Tasty Minstrel Games. I'm going to just read the little blurb that they have actually from Board Game Geek. So, the town of Scoville likes it hot, very hot. That means they love their peppers, but they're too busy eating them to grow them themselves. That's where you come in. You've been hired by the town of Scoville to meet their need for heat. Your role as an employee of Scoville is to crossbreed peppers to create the hottest new breeds. You'll have to manage the auctioning, planning, and harvesting. Then you'll be able to help the town by fulfilling their orders and creating new pepper breeds. Help make the town of Scoville a booming success. This, when I first saw this game, I wasn't expecting much because it didn't look like the type of game that I would normally play. It kind of has that kind of worker placement, resource management, and it looks like it should be a much longer game than it is. It plays in like 60 to 90 minutes, and once you know what you're doing, it's closer to 60 that I've found for the most part. But what you need to do is you basically have a field, and you're planting peppers in these fields. You have all these little wooden, basically pepper meeples. That fit nicely in the board. The board is actually indented, so when you plant the peppers, they stay in place. You don't have to worry about someone bumping the board and knocking everything everywhere, because there's little pepper-sized holes that the peppers fit into.
Okay.
And then whenever you harvest things, it's based on what peppers your farmer's standing between. So if you're standing between two peppers, you look at this little chart, and it'll say, okay, between those two peppers, you'll get this type of pepper. And you're trying to create the best mixes in the field so that you can harvest better peppers. The thing I like most is the way that turn order works. The start of every turn, you have a blind auction where everyone's going to take some of their money, they're going to hold it in their hand, and everyone's going to basically count to three, show how much they're bidding to determine the play order. And what I like about it is that you really have to think about what you want to do, because if you get the highest bid, you pick where you go in the order of play for that next turn. But play order constantly flops around. So do you want to plant first? Because if you plant first, that means you'll be harvesting last. But if you plant last, you'll harvest first. So it's all based on where you want to go. Because there's limited space on the board, if you harvest after everyone else, someone might take your space. And all of a sudden, where you wanted to go to get that, that great pepper, you can't, because there's someone standing there, and unlike the real world, you can't just push people out of your way and step on their necks. So, that's one thing I really liked, is that you aren't completely hosed if you are quote unquote going last, because you'll be going last at some things, but you'll be going first at others.
Okay.
So I really like that a lot, and you're not just simply collecting the peppers. There are orders you're trying to fulfill, which will give you rewards. There's also a chili cook-off going on where you can cash in peppers to create chili recipes. So you score points in a lot of different ways. It's just really nifty. There's if you are the first person to harvest specific peppers, you get some bonus from the town as well. But all these things are limited. If I cash in, if I grab one of the chili recipes, that recipe's gone. No one else can get it because I made it. It's done.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just a really interesting game that really kind of took me by surprise. And I actually got to meet the creator. Was in my store yesterday. Just stopped by. He happens to live over in Madison, and he stopped by, and I talked to him a little bit. Unfortunately, this one right now they're getting ready to do a second print run because the first one is sold out. If you can find a copy, good luck right now.
Yeah, okay.
But I think it's a game worth having. If you like if you like that kind of a little bit of resource management and that type of stuff, but nothing that you want something super heavy, this is a great game. It fills that void that I had where I wanted a quicker play resource management. I like the aspect or the idea of resource management, but so many of those games can bog down into 3-4 hours, and I'm not that gamer anymore for the most part.
Okay. Yeah, I can. Yeah, I mean, we've talked before. My attention span doesn't go beyond 3 hours in a game. Yeah. So
I'm getting old, and my time is limited.
Yeah, it's sad. Once you get a little bit older, it's like your time, you just don't have as much free time as you used to. So, it looks like, at least as of this time, it was $30 for the game, $29.99 US.
Really?
Yeah, looking, and I've hopped onto BoardGameGeek.com to take a look at Scoville.
Okay.
It looks like, trying to find, yeah, so it's around 30 US if you can, and who knows, this could sell out tomorrow, and then you're going to have to wait until this next print run comes out. And if you do find a copy, God help you, you're going to empty your wallet trying to get it. But it is.
Okay, that's on the Geek. They got it for 30. Amazon still does have it. That's right. He did tell me that, and I just didn't pay attention because Amazon isn't my store and it makes me no money, so I ignore it most of the time.
Just for point of reference, especially for Benjamin here, Glenn works for a gaming store in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Cool.
So he's constantly surrounded by games of all sorts and varieties. So he knows what's what, and he's got his finger on the pulse on stuff. So
wow. Some stuff.
A big dream of many gamers.
Yeah, no kidding. There was a point in time where I worked at a comic and game shop as well in the early '90s. So that's where I kind of got my bug, and I'm jealous of Glenn sometimes for the access that he has.
Yeah, there was a time when I used to spend so much time sort of just hanging around looking at things on the shelves that I think some of the other customers thought that I worked there. So people ask you advice every now and then, which you can answer because you know the store backwards.
Yep. No, exactly. It looks like Scoville won the 2014 Golden Geek Best Board Game Artwork and Presentation.
It is a really nice looking game, and the board is truly unique because it really is. It's the farmer field is most of the board, but they really did. It's punched out all throughout the center so that the peppers stay in place, so they won't move around.
Yeah, and I did flash that for just a little bit while you were talking, so people could kind of get a look at the game with the farming meeples in the mix there on the board. So, yeah, okay. Well, yeah, this sounds like a great 60 to 90 minutes. I mean, if you got a bunch of friends over and you're looking to have some fun, I don't see why you wouldn't pull out something like this. It sounds like low level resource management, not high stakes in any way, shape, or form, but it does sound like a fun game to try out. And again, $30. We've been talking about board games that go for 50 plus in some cases.
Well, and the normal retail on this one is actually 60.
Oh, really?
So if you're seeing it for 30, that's half off.
That's a steal. All right, so get yourself to the Board Game Geek and pick up a $30 copy of this. Don't walk, run. All right. Well, thank you for that review, Glenn. Really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
We're going to jump into the news now. And oddly enough, Benjamin is here representing Syrinscape. The news story that I have is Syrinscape based. It is about the Dragon's Demand soundpack that was released. It gives you the and I really want to hear more about that too from your perspective, Benjamin, too. This gives you a complete audio solution when playing the Dragon's Demand adventure. All the preparation is done for you, and every sound you'll need is right at your fingertips. The Dragon's Demand is a deluxe super adventure for 1st through 7th level characters, and now with amazing rich accompaniment with Syrinscape, there is even more reasons to play this module. The Dragon's Demand sound pack supports the epic green dragon, complete with violently hissing acid breath weapon, which
Look, I can play it. I'll play it for you.
Okay.
Lovely.
Oh, there's the hissing. Yes, nice. Complete kobold lair with a divine and arcane spellcasting kobold leader.
Mm-hmm. It was fantastic. We've actually got the spells there. Sorry, I keep interrupting you. I just love it so much. It's great. We got the most amazing thing about the kobold lair is that one of our kobold voice actors is Wolfgang Bauer, the most official kobold of all official kobolds, and he was kind enough when I was at PaizoCon to step up to the booth and deliver some of his fantastic kobold vocals. So you're getting the real thing. He's a real genuine kobold.
Nice, nice. I like this description: a disturbingly gross and squidgy mouther creature. I love the word squidgy.
Squidgy. We weren't allowed to say gibbering mouther because of the licensing. So if people can work out what a mouther creature is, then that's what it is. Yeah, lots of disgusting, gross things.
A clockwork guardian,
mm-hmm.
a small lightning elemental. And I like this. Ghouls, bears. I'm not familiar with the creature called the Grioth.
The Grioth was a monster that was made in that module. When Paizo released new modules, there's usually a couple of special new monsters that appear just in that module, and they're sort of a hideous sort of demon screeching thing. So yeah, we got the voice actors to do hideous demon screeching, which was disturbing to the neighbors, but very satisfying for the players who get to use it in their games.
I can only imagine what that must be like for the people around there that can actually hear some of that work that's going on.
Oh, yeah.
And a singeingly roasting hot flame drake. There we go. This sounds really awesome, and I had the opportunity to pull up the iPad version of the Syrinscape interface for the sounds in that app. It's really amazing. And could you tell us a little bit more about the Dragon's Demand?
Yeah, I think the main thing that people need to know straight up is that Syrinscape isn't just recordings. They're not just 15-minute loops of an environment or 15-minute sort of created recording of a battle situation. I used to do that sort of thing when I was just first getting into audio for tabletop gaming. As I said at the beginning, I'm a massive gaming fan, but also a composer and a musician. So when I wanted to have some audio at the table, I started to make a dragon battle with a few roars and a bit of music, and I made a 15-minute MP3, and you can get a lot of those on. There's some fantastic sound design on Kickstarter of people doing those. But what I found very quickly is when that loop goes round and round, these Pathfinder battles and Dungeons and Dragons battles go on for a long time, at least an hour. And human minds are designed to notice patterns. And so the fifth time round you had, sort of a scream and then a wolf and then a crash. It all came down for me to this one moment where the players were in town, and they literally stopped the role playing and sort of almost all together went woof woof because they'd recognized the pattern. And all their attention was being drawn to sort of the inept sound design, the fact that it was always the same and sort of magically similar. So the whole point of Syrinscape is that it's actually dynamically triggered. So when you're in that dragon battle that we were talking about in Dragon's Demand, at the end, spoiler, there might be a dragon battle at the end of Dragon's Demand. Oh my God, I've spoiled it for everyone.
Wow.
There's the sound of thudding music, just like in a movie theater soundtrack. The songs play every now and then. There's the roars of the dragon. There are probably 20 different roars of the dragon, and each time a random interval goes between each of those roars, and then a random roar is played, and each time a roar is played, it's in a different direction in the surround spectrum. It's got reverb dynamically applied, so if the roar comes from a bit further away, then you get a bit more of that sort of cave echo. and if the roar's closer, then it's louder and drier. Then there's the scratching of the dragon's claws on the cave floor, which are also completely separate, controllable by the dungeon master. You can turn those off if the dragon's in the air. You turn off the screeching things. There's the sounds of the wings of the dragon beating, which once again are dynamic and controllable. There's, when you're fighting the kobolds, there's, different screams of different kobolds, which are all independent. So every single part of that sound design is in there, independently controllable by you, if you like. You can set up Syrinscape with some kobolds and some gryoths and a dragon and put them all together, mix it up just like you like, save that as a preset, and then when it comes to actually playing, it's just that one touch. You touch the preset dragon battle, and it all happens. So basically the whole point of Syrinscape for me was that it never ever repeats itself. It's completely dynamic, and also it's really, really low interaction demanding from the game master. So back to the actual question, which was about Dragon's Demand. So Dragon's Demand is this fantastic, quite beloved module that Paizo made, which is a really, really great way to start for especially new players who aren't familiar with the genre. Because it starts at first level, the playing characters that those people are going to be playing are straightforward with simple actions, and it steps up, to that kind of that 7th level sweet spot in 3.5, which is, or 3.75, which is a really, really great sort of, makes you feel like an epic hero, because the wizard has the fireball, the rogue starts to do massive amount of sneak attack damage, the fighter gets the iterative attacks, and so it kind of is a great way of walking players through. And what you've got here in Syrinscape, because we license with Paizo, is we've got that complete audio solution. So as a game master, you don't need to search through lots of different sound sets and find a dragon and find kobolds. It's actually the whole adventure is set out with a set of presets. And when it's the auction, you hit the auction, and when the gryoths attack, you just hit gryoth attack. And when when the auctioneer is going to bash his gavel, you just touch the bash a gavel sound, and that will happen automatically for you. So it'll sound like this. Yay! Nice. Also, what's really cool is all the big speeches from the monsters are in Syrinscape. So when that big dragon appears on the roof, spoiler, and makes his massive speech, you just touch this little button. And he goes on and on and on. He's a very boring fellow, that dragon. And so all that sort of voice acting is done for you. You can obviously continue with the role playing if they want to, converse with a Tepper accent. But so there's lots of different important events. Lots of the traps are all there, ready to go off in the kobold lair. Oh my God, kobolds do traps! Tell me something amazing. So there's this fantastic poison dart trap. Ow! Oh, and I love this one. This is an alchemical fire one they set off. Traps are particularly great with Syrinscape because you're playing, that sort of this spooky atmosphere is going along, all dynamically cycling, so it never repeats. There's occasional creaking of, makes it feel like the whole place is going to collapse on the players, and then. You might ask them to roll not a reflex save, a perception check or whatever. They fail it. You just touch the trap, and suddenly there's this explosion of fire and crashes, and not just the PCs, but the players themselves get this awful shock and sort of, oh my God, and sort of leap for cover. So it's a really, really great way of bringing that sort of visceral sense of really, really being there and immersing the players. That's what I always find myself talking about with Syrinscape, is immersing the players in the environment, which really, really helps people to feel the emotion, to feel disturbed, to feel epic, and to keep concentration going at the table really, really effectively as well.
No, that's wonderful. I had the opportunity to download the app for my iPad and just kind of get a base taste of, when you download the app, you get 2 sound packs essentially.
Yep. For free, yeah. You can download the app for free without even registering or anything, and you get a generic sort of bugbear battle with the sort of the typically what a fight's like, swords crashing and bugbears crying out some music, and you also get a sound set called the Witchwood, which is a generic spooky forest sort of location, which you can use in any situation. And so you can try Syrinscape and work out, if it works on your device and if what it's like to have it at the table, and then you can subscribe to completely unlock the entire app, or you can buy individual content in the store after you watch the videos and things.
Yeah, I just the more I dug into Syrinscape, and the more I appreciate what you've constructed. Because, like you said, the sounds are individualized. You can play, like the with the Witchwood, you can play the wind sound in the background. You can adjust the audio level, and then you can throw in some of the other sounds. Also, in the lower right corner of the screen, there are some preset buttons for like an ice type spell. If you cast an ice-based spell, or lightning, or a fireball, just like quick sounds that you can throw in there as well. But the preset concept to me is absolutely freaking amazing. So you can, as you're doing your game prep, you can set some things up and have it ready to go, and you can just click that button and you can start it off, which is absolutely brilliant.
That was one of the big things for me. So when I wanted to have some audio at the table, I did look at a lot of the things that were out there, and the two big problems were the quality of the sound design and that repetitious factor, which we've talked about already, but also the amount of attention some of these things take from the GM. If you're trying to trigger these sounds or search through your library or queue up YouTube or whatever, you're turning the attention of the game master away from the players, and for me that's a deal breaker. The whole point of this thing is for us to get together with our friends and to communicate and imagine and pay attention to each other. And as a GM, you're already operating on overload if you're doing it right.
Yeah,
trying to,
exactly.
Balance the game, make sure everyone's getting sort of a bit of focus. Work out why someone's drifting away, draw them back in. Keep trying to take into account the absolute left, sort of out of left field actions that the players do, and keep everything flowing along. So adding Syrinscape to the table is really, really easy, and that's really, really important. So it really is just one touch every now and then. And yeah, as you said, if you want to set off a spell to punctuate some event or whatever, then you can do that as well, which is really cool.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the heck out of that, and I'm definitely going to be digging more into Syrinscape after this episode. All right. We'll get into the. I'm so excited about this product that I'm
sorry, we're merging all the sections of the show completely together. I'm ruining everything.
No, you're not. It's wonderful to be able to. I had the opportunity where I found that news story about the new Syrinscape release, and having you here and getting that to happen. To talk about that. Yeah, it does kind of go into our interview a little bit and talking about the Syrinscape product, but it's absolutely, we needed to do that, so don't feel bad at all. We haven't lost track, so we're still good.
Stay on target. Stay on target.
Speaking about staying on target, we're going to continue on here. We're going to have Ryan Murphy, who is a contributor to Galactic Netcasts, and he's going to give us the Galactic Gaming News Report, and he covers more of the digital beat of gaming, and he has an update for us. So take it away, Ryan. Okay, thanks for that report, Ryan. Appreciate that. Next up is our Kickstarter Spotlight. This is where we highlight something that Glenn and I find on Kickstarter that we think is really cool and people should check out. The Kickstarter that we had last time we met was the voting game. It's the party game about your friends. And we talked about this, and it's an interesting game in that you are either going to have a really good time with your friends, or you're going to learn a lot of truth about yourself as a person that you may end up crying in the fetal position in the corner of the room after you play this game. There's only two ways that this is going to go. Just as a recap of this particular game, it is a game where everyone is asked a question, and that question is either going to be something about let me pull up one of the test or one of the sample questions here real quick. Here we go. Who would survive the longest in a zombie apocalypse?
Me.
So, absolutely you would, Glenn. You've got the hat and the goggles right behind you. You're good to go. If you lay this card down, if it's your turn, you ask the question, and everybody at the table, and it'll host up to 10 people. So up to 10 people can play this game. And every person that plays is assigned a number. So when you play the card, You ask the question, in this case, zombie survival situation, who's actually going to make it, and everybody lays down the number that represents the person that they think would survive the zombie apocalypse. And then it's by popular vote. Whoever gets the most votes gets the point. They get to take that card and they score a point. And then you continue gameplay until you reach the end, or an agreed upon, maybe you put a time limit on it or a number of question limit on it. However you want to do that, you can. The interesting thing about it too is in this Kickstarter, you are able to get the 3 expansions that they have for this as well. One is NSFW, so 80 questions of things that kind of rude, maybe a bit crude, crass, but if you're among friends, maybe that's okay for that particular group. The second one is Create Your Own. So you get 80 blank cards, and you can create your own questions. Maybe they're inside jokes in your group or something of that nature. And then you get another expansion called Fill in the Blank, which gives you 80 cards, fill in the blank, to make each question your own. So it'll give you the opportunity to customize things a little bit more for your game as well. Now, $25 gets you just the core game. If you kick in $35, you get the original game plus 1 expansion that you can pick. $45, you pick 2. $50 will get you all 3 of the expansions plus the original game. So for some of the costs that we've talked about, some of the games that we've mentioned in the past, $50 is not that much for a really good, especially something that has a high replayable value. That's not much to pay for something like that. I think we kind of agreed that would be a fun thing to do, and like I said earlier, you're going to learn a lot of truth possibly, and it may damage your psyche at some level, but hopefully it's all in good fun and you can walk away and still keep your friends. But now that I've had a day to think about it, I kind of want to throw this around to the two of you, and we're going to start with Benjamin. Let's say you've had this core game, you've got the original 80 cards, you have the group of friends up to 10 people, and you play, you get through all 80 cards. Do you feel that would have a high replayability, or do you think you would have to lean on the expansions and mix it up?
Yeah, I love the idea of personalizing, because so many of our experiences depend on particular events that we went to, or and does the whole group get asked each of the questions each time they go around, or is it just one by one?
Yeah, it is. It's presented to the group, and then everybody gets to vote on that question.
Yeah, that's right. So I think I guess there's a fair amount of replayability there, but yeah, I think you'd really have to go for the expansions, because I think that'd be the most interesting to me. And there's rarely situations to ask some of those questions that you actually want to know. What do people actually think about that, or that person in that situation when you're all away, or what actually did happen. So that's really intriguing to me. And yeah, it is also dangerous and and could have interesting situations. And look, I guess it's not maybe the sort of game that you'd get together every Friday and play with the same group of 4 people either. Yeah. I mean, if you've got a rotation of different groups of friends, then I think it would work quite well for replayability.
Sure. Okay. Glenn, same to you. Now that you've had a day to think about it, what do you think?
I think it's not a lot of cards. So I think that it'd be hard to play with the same group multiple times without hitting on the expansions. Although, I don't know, yeah, because, I mean, most of people's answers aren't really going to change much unless, let's basically have a zombie apocalypse, and you can say, well, I guess we were wrong about Bob. He died. So now, who do we think is best going to survive this zombie apocalypse that we're currently in? So, yeah, I think this one, you'd play through those 80 pretty quick. I mean, I know, like, as an example, Cards Against Humanity, people think, oh, well, there's like 400 cards. How quickly do you go through that? Really, really fast. You go through that box really fast. You do.
It's interesting.
So,
It's interesting playing Trivial Pursuit. You know, where there's hundreds of cards and 5 questions on every one, and as soon as you start repeating questions, it gets very boring really quickly, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yep.
Especially if you can't remember the flaming answer that you gave last time, and you still get the stupid thing wrong.
Yes. Makes it all that much more painful. I agree. All right. Yeah, I was just thinking about that, and by no means, I'm not saying that folks shouldn't get the game. Their goal is 7,500 as of this point in time that we're doing the recording of this. They're at just over 5,500. So they're just under $2,000 away from hitting their goal to make this a reality and get this out to folks. So they're definitely striking a chord with folks. So and it does seem like it would be a lot of fun. I guess the only thing that we would kind of caution people on is you might want to get the expansions just to try to help keep that replayability going and mix things up a bit. So all right. Well, Glenn, you have a new Kickstarter that you are presenting to us, and it looks kind of interesting.
Do
What
I?
you got?
Oh, yeah, I do.
Yeah, you do.
I know I do. 100 Swords, which is actually nowhere near as big as it sounds, because this is a micro deck builder. It's a 2-player, sword-based dungeon crawling micro deck builder. If you're wondering what that means, what is a micro deck builder? If you're familiar with games like Dominion or Ascension, there's a lot of cards in those games, and big boxes, and this is about the size of a pack of poker cards is your full game. So, I mean, this is an easy fit in your pocket, fit in your backpack, take it and go. And what it is you have a bunch of different items, things that come in the deck. You've got your starting items, you've got special items you can find, you got monsters you can fight. And what you do is you do different things. So you can expend cards to move into the dungeon, you can expend weapons to kill monsters, you can expend energy to collect new items. And then what you're doing is you're going through until either you run out of cards in the dungeon or you defeat the boss. There's a boss in every dungeon. The first one is a dragon. There's also a mammoth is the second one. They have 2 decks currently that they're doing for this. And at the end of the game, regardless of how you finish, you total up points based on the items and trophies that you collected. So items being weapons and whatnot that you collected, trophies being monsters you killed. It looks pretty darn interesting, and I'm liking a lot of these. I mean, when I had Brawl, the other week. I like these small, quick play games because I like when I can go somewhere and I can fit 15 games in a backpack. That's awesome, because then there's plenty of options of play. Or even if I'm taking a trip, like when I go to Toy Fair, I'll just throw 3 or 4 extra little games in my suitcase where they don't take up much space, but I've got plenty of options to do things. And that's what I'm liking these types of games. And to get in on this, it's $14. To get one of the 2 decks. You can either go for 14 and get the Red Dragon, or you get the Blue Mammoth. And it comes with a promo. They both come with there's a promo card as well that comes with those. You go $27, you can get both of them. Both decks for $27. You save $1. Why would you not save $1 to get the 2? And $27 for 2 complete games, I think, is a great deal. And they've got tons of other things with special promos and other. They've got the promo cards. They've got, and I completely lost what the other stuff was.
Well, they've got like the Kick Sword, which is a special.
Yes.
They've got the Kick Sword and the Starter Sword, which are 2 special cards that they have for this release for folks that get in on the Kickstarter.
And I suppose the important thing to know with Kickstarter as well is that they're trying to raise $9,999.
No.
They have 18 days to go. With 898 backers, they are currently at 31,878. So I guess they're going to hit that goal.
Yeah, they totally blew past it, yes.
Which means they've already unlocked stretch goals.
Oh, and I'm just going to interrupt for a second. It was actually funded in under 48 hours. They hit that that $9,999 goal in under 2 days. So yeah, that's a big deal. And it's a Kickstarter staff pick too, which
yes. And if you can't wait till the November 2015 release, they have for backers, they have a tester print and play version, black and white, of the Red Dragon deck. I'm not sure exactly when you get that, but I'm assuming they would give you that before they give you the actual complete deck. Otherwise, why bother? They've got 2 add-on dungeon builder sets, which is 2 sets of items and monsters to help build your own dungeons. And they've unlocked rules for solo play.
Oh, that is cool. So if you played solitaire 1,000 times, you want something else to do, you can play this by yourself with these additional rules. That's cool. That is very cool. How many people still play solitaire except on their computer? I just totally dated myself there.
I see people playing it on iPads and things now.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's annoying on an iPad because it's better with a deck of cards because you can cheat. Which is what I usually end up doing because I find it so frustrating.
Thank God it's not just me. All right.
No.
Excellent. Okay. So it sounds like you're pretty excited about this, Glenn.
Yeah, I'm pretty jazzed about this one. I already got it set up in my queue to remind me to pledge to it before it expires, which I got lots of time to do that. So, and it actually doesn't expire until after Gen Con, so I'll know how much money I have left if I'm getting 1 or 2 decks.
Yeah, I remember Gen Con, especially when you have to travel to Indianapolis and stay there. Yeah, that gets a little expensive. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we'll be at Gen Con, so I'll be coming from Sydney, so don't whinge about it.
Oh yeah, that's a heck of a far distance to travel.
It is. The flight from Sydney to Dallas, which is where we land, is the longest possible commercial leg in the world, and there's only sort of some of the A380s can actually manage it. So I go insane for the last 6 hours of the flight.
Lord, how long of a flight is it in total from Sydney to Dallas?
Yeah, the whole thing takes about 26 hours, sort of, including the changeover in Dallas, which is pretty insane. So. I mean, I totally love flying for 11 hours and nothing after that. So yeah, it is great landing in Dallas instead of LA because it's a bit more relaxed and you get through security a bit more easily and quickly. So yeah, and look, I love coming over and meeting all the gamers, and the cons are absolutely incredible. And Gen Con, of course, is just amazing and epic and huge. So it's definitely worth it. But yeah, I've got sympathy for those traveling, but not as much as for me.
No, you've totally won that at this point. 26 hours to get to Gen Con, and flying no less. You've won. You've absolutely won. All right. Well, I think we're going to jump into talking with Benjamin Loomes about Syrinscape and about him and how he got to be a part of this project and make this happen and help facilitate expanding upon the storyteller's experience to, it's one thing to craft a game with words, and that's pretty good. And if you're a very good wordsmith and you can, describe things and have people play that scene in their head while you're running the game, that's really good. But imagine if you had help and you had your iPad off to the side and were able to say, now you're entering the forbidding woods and you're about to go up and find the Wicked Witch or whatever you're doing, getting to the haunted house to defeat the lich that you need to kill to win the game or whatever. You have this backup that Syrinscape offers you. You have the ability to pull out your iPad and play those sounds and actually make an even more immersive experience for the players. So and that's, like I said earlier, that's why we wanted to have somebody from Syrinscape come and talk to us. And by golly, if we didn't get the man who actually put the sounds together to actually talk to us, which is wonderful. So thank you for that, Benjamin. To start off, it sounds, talking about earlier, you being a part of working with kids in school to introduce them to music and to get them to express themselves musically and to, see different sides of music, perhaps, or think about music differently. What got you into music, and what inspired you to become a part of that project, the Watt Opera?
Wow, that's a cool question. I mean, the very original thing that got me into music was my brother learning to play piano, and so he would have been sort of 8 and I would have been 5, and he played some simple little tunes that he was having at his piano lessons, and he never went on with it at all, actually. But I just thought it was the most amazing thing in the entire world and really wanted to do it. So, my mum and dad took me to piano lessons, and it really took off for me. And it's always been something that was quite straightforward music for me to learn, and I put a lot of time into it and a lot of work, and had some great teachers. And for me, music has an incredible power for self-expression. We're all familiar with the idea of music being able to express without a single word a whole lot of ideas that cut right through to the soul and right through to those emotional cues. When we're watching a movie, we're not really necessarily aware of the musical soundtrack, but once it's wrong or absent, you really, really notice it. None of us are watching the shower scene in Psycho and thinking, there's some dissonant chromatic clusters in the violins. I think something bad is going to happen to the girl. But we all take that musical cue without even a hesitation. And we can use leitmotifs such as the Jaws leitmotif, that single little musical idea, that da-dum, and instantly we know that something terrible is going to happen. And so we're really, really familiar with that and used to that in films. And it seemed like a weird absence from the table for me. Why weren't we using this powerful medium? And I think a lot of the reason why we weren't using it is because it was a complicated, time-consuming, and often pratfallingly disastrous thing to add into the game. So, I got into music because of its power to express emotions in myself and also to activate emotions and ideas in others as well, and really loved it.
Okay, cool. So that begs the question now, how did you become a part of Syrinscape? You mentioned that you have this great love of RPGs, and you are a musician, obviously, and you found a way to bring those together. What was that moment where you went, I need to make this happen?
That's right. I mean, as I said before, I was making MP3 recordings by mixing them together. Doing home recording is something I've done for years, and I have a studio, and so I've done lots of that. And I was mixing longer and longer tracks and trying to randomly scatter, audio elements within those tracks in a multi-track sequencer. So I would take some drag and raws and I'd put them down, and then sort of put another drag and raw 90 seconds later, and then put another drag and raw sort of 45 seconds later, and these tracks needed to get longer and longer because that repetition factor is a real danger. Humans are designed to notice patterns. We even notice patterns that aren't there. But that's the scientific brain. That's the way we operate successfully in the world, is by noticing those patterns. And so I found my players really, latching on to those patterns and finding them irritating and distracting, and that's the last thing you want your musical track to be. So I got to the situation where I was trying to make these tracks longer and longer, and it just occurred to me, computers are really powerful at this sort of thing, at waiting a randomized interval, at choosing a randomized direction and cueing a random sound in a random distance. So I have always been an amateur computer programmer. I programmed in BASIC on a PC when I was 11. So I fished around for a program that had some good writability and also some great plug-in audio capability. And I found Python, which is not what it's written in now, but I found it. Python was great, and I just got stuck into writing, trying to find an automated way of setting off sounds. And so I wrote an original version of Syrinscape, which I then shared online. It was working great for me, and people just absolutely latched onto it and really encouraged me to build more sounds, and then requests for the interface not to suck started to come through. and then requests for it to be available on iPad came through, and then people wanted this and they wanted that, and then people were like, you totally should build this and do this more, and I'm like, but I have like this other job. And so yeah, and then the next step then was to find a business partner who was prepared to put in a whole lot of money so we could really devote time and develop this thing properly. And we redeveloped Syrinscape in Unity, which is a system you can use to program, where you can program cross-platform. We program for iPad and iPhone and Android and Mac and PC, all with the single code set. So we can update the software, with a single code set and then re-release across all those platforms.
Oh, nice.
Which is really, really fantastically powerful. And it means we've just been able to, with a bit more tweaking, a bit of controlling what you show and what you don't show, we've just released for iPhone, which is fantastic, and Android phones, so that people can use Syrinscape, just have it sitting on their table. If they're using their tablet to show PDF rules and search the web and things like that, they can just have their iPhone sitting there in flight mode. Obviously, no SMS messages allowed, and then it's always available just to reach out and with that single touch to transform from the spooky forest, which you spoke about before, and just touch, red dragon attack in spooky forest, which they've set up previously, and then suddenly there's a massive explosion of a roar and a crash, and then the music starts, and all that happens all automated and automatically for them in the background. I have a serious tendency to do topic drift on my answers.
Oh, no.
I wrote it. I wrote the original version just for myself, so I could have it at the table to fix the problem that I had, and then people loved it. That's the short answer to your simple question.
No, but it's great to get that full overview and that background of what went on in your head and how everything came about. So don't apologize, Benjamin.
Yeah.
I'm glad you did that. I did notice, you do a lot of work with Paizo, and we mentioned that in a previous episode that Paizo is distributing for Gob & Tux, which is a French product line. Some properties that a French company has, Gob & Tux, and they're going to be doing some distribution. And I was wondering, has there been any talk of working with Paizo on any of the Gob & Tuck properties?
I haven't heard of them, actually. Oh. Tell me about them. No, no, not at all. We've been supporting the core Pathfinder game, which of course makes all the sounds completely relevant to any fantasy genre. A dragon's a dragon, and a goblin's a goblin, and a kobold's a kobold. And we've been supporting the adventure parts. We're just about to start Hell's Rebels, which is going to be really, really cool. Lots of big demons.
Nice.
And we have a sci-fi player where I'm just about to launch the laser sword battle, which might be relevant to lightsabers, but and we've got blasters and giant sandworms and ship-to-ship battles. But Gob & Tux, is that a French game or what is it?
Yeah, it's a French game company, and they released a few games. One's called Polaris, which is a post-apocalyptic undersea world. And mankind has been forced to no longer be on top of Earth, but actually live underwater. And they have a 400-page core rulebook that's due out in October of this year. And they've got some other support things like the Bestiary technology guide and stuff. And they also have a Pavilion Noir, which is another 500-page rule book that's going to have leather binding and other support products available. I don't have details on Pavilion Noir as to what setting it actually is.
That sounds amazing. I mean, so we've got in the sci-fi player, we cover a kind of a broad range. So you've got street scenes with cars. You've got kind of a modern hover car kind of situation. You've also got kind of the post-apocalyptic ruined city. And so we support specific games within specific locations, but then, you know, as we spoke already, you can mix together the elements from different sorts of sound sets and then save them as your custom preset. So you pretty much cover a whole range of, you know, of genres. If you're trying to fight ghouls, then you grab some of the fantasy ghouls, so they can become your kind of, you know, sort of zombies or whatever you like, and you mix together everything as you like it. So it's sort of Syrinscape's meant to be a tool to give you kind of the whole sort of palette of sounds that you want available. And so then those Dragon's Demands and the Hell's Rebels and the Rise of the Rune Lords, which is completely supported now, which is really cool, they're just a way of actually grabbing an adventure path and grabbing all the sounds completely prepared for you, so that there's minimum preparation required on your part.
Sure.
So and also what people are doing, which is really cool, is taking different modules from all sorts of games, and they're saving these things called campaigns, which set up your sound sets all organized and all ready in your left-hand column, so you can actually step through a particular campaign, and so you've got that ready to play. So that's great to see as well.
Yeah, I think that's one of the brilliant things about Syrinscape, is that you know, if you get a number of different sound packs, you can hold the things that are relevant to your particular campaign. Maybe you're not playing Pathfinder. Maybe you're playing some other system completely. It's not just a product for Paizo or anything like that. It is wide open to any gaming system.
Yeah, and it's all about reducing that attention requirement at the table. For me, that's the really, really big thing, because if you're having to search through a long list, you know, to find a particular monster or something, that's really sad if you're not spending that time focusing on what's happening at the table. So you can just pull together those sound sets that you need already, and you have them all available there on the left-hand side, ready to just touch through in order. And that's something we've worked really, really hard. Look, most of the features either come from my own experience at the table using Syrinscape, or the fans who also just bug me continuously with you know, the improvements that they want, which is absolutely fantastic, you know. And the ideas, we're just about to incorporate keyword searching within the app, so you'll be able to click up the top left-hand side and just type goblin, and all the sound sets that have goblins in them will appear. So that'll be a really fast way of getting through to the sound you want if something unexpected happens, which is pretty much usually.
Sure. You know, all I can think of, I don't know if either of you guys watch IT Crowd.
Yeah,
have watched the IT Crowd.
I have, yes.
The episode where they have the D&D episode.
Oh, yes.
And he's trying to play the right music, and he goes, hold on, wait, no, wait, wait.
Yeah. Yep.
That's really mysterious.
Yeah.
Yes. No, that's great. The fact that that's all right there, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Because I've done that in the past too. I've had just like a sound, just music, and it's always, nope, played the wrong one. Hold on, let's go back. Let's interrupt all the game. You didn't hear that.
That's right. No, that's my situation. There's this moment where they were negotiating with the Naboo ambassador, my players, and I literally put on Darth Vader's theme, you know. And they never trusted this woman ever again, no matter what I said, because, you know, she's dun 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 dun. It's like, ah! So yeah, music is so powerful, you know, and associations are so incredibly true. So yeah, it can be used for good or for evil.
That is so brilliant. That having an active fan base like that does pester you is kind of a very good problem to have, because you get people that are playing it and they're like, oh, you know, I wonder if you did this, and it makes for such a wonderful product, and that's cool that you're responsive to the people that are a part of that experience. So that's wonderful. Yeah. In talking about the different sound packs that you put together, what is a typical process for a sound pack from start to finish? You know, from idea to having it in the store.
That's a cool question, actually. So let's think about. Should we do a dragon? I guess let's do the Dragon Demand final sort of sequence, which is this big battle with the dragon. So. You know, you either reading the module or just thinking about the location, you think, what are the elements, and that's our name for the third column of Syrinscape, which is each of those different parts of the sound environment. What elements are in that situation? So, you know, basically for me that starts with usually some kind of basic wind noise, just a general white noise, sort of hissing, sort of vaguely fluctuating a little bit, but nothing remarkable sound. And that sound is fantastic for gluing together the whole scene, to sort of helping things meld and mix together. There's always some kind of white noise. If listeners pause this podcast or whatever, just listen. There's maybe the sound of their computer humming, or the sound of waves if they live by the sea, or the wind outside. So that's a really important element of the sound design. Then there's, if the location is a cave, there might be some dripping noises. So I will take some drips which I've recorded, at some point in the bathroom, or and each of those drips is an individual sound, no reverb applied, just a bloop and a bloop and a bloop, and you need about 20 of those maybe at least. And they go into Syrinscape and they become an element of the sound design. And each of those drips happens at a randomized interval, happens in a random direction in the surround spectrum at a random distance. And as I said before, if the drip is further away, it'll have more of that cave echo applied. So it might just be, and as the drip is randomly closer, then it might be really with only just a little bit of that sort of hissing echo. So that happens. That just runs by itself, completely independently of everything else. If your cave is dry for some reason, because the dragon dried everything out, then you just touch the drip element and turn it off. Then there might be, say if we're in a battle situation, there might be the sound of the PC's feet on the gravel floor of the cave. So that becomes one of the elements. So we've sourced, people slushing around their sneakers in gravel, and then you just build up each of those elements of the sound design, including the wing beats of the dragon. And what I love when I'm building for Paizo is I love it. Those guys are so passionate about what their world sounds like and the quality. So we've had debates back and forwards about the leatheriness and the largeness of
Wow.
different monsters' wings, which is really, really great. And I've had to sort of replace wings of different creatures because they were the wrong size or the wrong feel. Then we have the sounds of the axes and shields. So I backed a Kickstarter for a whole lot of guys that were just literally recording the sounds of all different sorts of weapons whacking on all sorts of different materials.
Oh,
Which
nice.
was fantastic. I backed those guys and I have access to, sort of 50 different weapon impact sounds, and I grab those. I don't have to process them for reverb or environment or anything like you would when you're normally building a film. I just supply Syrinscape with those little fragments of sounds, really, really short samples. And then I get to make the dragon vocalizations, which that's the really fun place. So the Green Dragon in Dragon's Demand was sourced by a fan who turned up to the Paizo stand and auditioned by sounding like a freakish screamer and recording into my microphone. And then so his roars, which were amazingly impressive and fantastic, then get processed. And there's all sorts of fantastic stuff you can do. There's you can pitch shift things down. You can shift the formant resonance, if anyone knows what the heck that is. But it's about that speech resonance of the voice. You can lower that so that the voice box of the creature that's speaking sounds bigger.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
You can then blend different sounds together. You can there's lots and lots of stuff. And I try to make every dragon sound different. So we're not repeating. The green dragon is really, really different. The red dragon is literally just sourced from me going, which sounds pretty pathetic. But what we ended up, I'll just try and find his roar. Here we are, and it's coming through like a little microphone. But have a listen to this. It's not very loud, is it?
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh,
And this is his,
nice.
So that's me just getting a little bit of phlegm in my throat and letting that bubble around a bit and sort of sounding a bit weird and then processing that. And then his breath weapon's great. This combines the sounds of a fire sort of explosion plus his roar plus other elements as well. And look, if you want to hear it, then just download Syrinscape yourself. And there's actually a free trial subscription where you can actually become a subscriber, as in everything in the entire app is completely unlocked.
Oh wow!
You can do that as a trial for 30 days, just like you would with Spotify or whatever. And you can download all the content and have a go of it. You can hear that red dragon. You can hear the green dragon in Dragon's Demand. It's probably the most straightforward way of having a go of the app. As we said, you can you can just download the app itself on iPad or iPhone or Android phone or PC or Mac, and you don't even have to register or anything, and just have a go of that bugbear battle, and also that Witchwood. I've drifted in topic again, but yes, that's basically what the answer is. You go through the elements of the sound design, and then they all go into Syrinscape, and they all get mixed together, and that takes ages and ages, and balancing the timings of when things happen. I have complete control over that random period, the minimum sort of frequency with which something can happen, and the maximum frequency, and then all the direction ranges and the distant range, the distances and everything, and that all gets mixed together into these presets, which then everyone can use when they've got it at the table.
Nice.
Pretty cool.
So, if I'm here, you didn't record actual dragons for the sound?
I did when we had Rise of the Rune Lords. I got goblins in to sing the goblin song, the famous Pathfinder goblin song, and they literally burnt the entire studio to the ground. It was pretty much a rebuild from scratch.
I've never been to Australia. I've never been to Australia, but I was just assuming because Australia already has 8,000 things that'll kill you. I just assumed you guys would have dragons still.
No, I've decided not to get actual monsters into the studio anymore. I have used weird things. The Wendigo cry in Rise of the Rune Lords. The Wendigo is this weird sort of spooky monster that just sort of haunts you from a distance. I use there's an elk in America that does this freaky throat call which travels miles and miles and miles.
Yeah.
So we just used that. We found a creative. There's a wonderful sharing community online where people share for attribution, so I'm able to give them credit, different recordings they've made. And we took one of those and then we processed it a bit, and it sounds horrendous. It sounds really, truly disturbing, which is great. Yeah. A lot of the dragon noises you hear in movies are things like horses breathing backwards and to get that sort of throat bubbling, horses breathing back in, and things. So yeah, it's quite extraordinary where you can get sounds from. The human voice is very powerful as well, and I got fantastic sounds. The grioths, as which you mentioned before, were people just doing these weird sucking screams in my microphone.
Oh wow!
They sound really awful, which is cool.
So
Syrinscape, making people feel sick all over the world.
And and that's for people who play role-playing games. There's probably something slightly wrong with us anyway, and that's all right, and we're in good company. So,
if you can make the players' hairs stand up on the back of their necks by a basic human response to danger, and that's an amazing reaction, especially if you've got a lot of our players are a little bit distractible, maybe they drift a little bit, and Syrinscape will keep them cued into the action even when it's not their turn, because they're just immersed. That's the word we use all the time.
Sure.
They're immersed literally in the audio, which is all around the room, and so that basic irresistible human fight or flight instinct kicks in. So when I talk about making people feel uncomfortable, that's exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to make them feel like they're in genuine danger, and then of course the payoff when you succeed is even far greater.
Yeah, and what every storyteller longs to do is to play a game, to run a game where the players talk about that situation, that campaign for years afterwards. That's the payoff. And to have something like this where you can have sounds and have music and actually touch some of the other portions of the brain that words can't necessarily touch alone, and have that entire experience, you are well on your way to having that lasting experience that people are going to remember for a long time to come, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, totally.
I do have another question for you, because you are constantly in the market for sounds. You mentioned that you have a number of different places that you can go to find some of these sounds that people are sharing for attribution. Do you find yourself taking like a recording device of some sort and just kind of traveling around to find random things?
Yes, absolutely, totally. So in the near future, we'll need a casino sound. So I was at Vegas for the Gamma Festival. So there I am wandering around with this thing that kind of looks a bit like a taser in the casino, sort of, and your sample needs to be, just to avoid, when you've got a basic background bobble, sort of burbly, blah, 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 that sound sample needs to be about 4 minutes or so. If it's only 30 seconds long, then whoa, you notice that pattern really quickly. So I'm needing to set up sort of casually in the casino, which are some of the most watched places in the entire world, and set up this slightly suspicious-looking device and hit record, and then kind of walk away from it, ideally, and it's so funny. So I didn't get arrested. Yay!
I was gonna say, I wondered if you got hassled by security.
Yeah, no, not at all, which is great. And what's really interesting, so say you're trying to get some wave sounds, for a beach. We have a gorgeous, beautiful, relaxing, stony beach. And, it can be very hard because any sound, the sound of a plane going overhead or the sound of some kid, 800 meters away yelling, or the sound of a car or the sound of a dog can spoil that, recording. And so... Yeah, so we've been recently getting some of the other people who I'm associated with who do some environmental work up on some of the isolated locations in Australia, like Lord Howe Island, to submit recordings, because some of these places don't have a road, at all, which is really fantastic. And I use recordings of medieval sort of towns, squares in Europe where you can't get cars in, so there's just the sounds of people sort of chatting, and then you need that kind of general babble of people chatting in a foreign language is fantastic as well. But you need to make sure that no one happens to come by too close, with anything particularly clear, let alone, sort of an Australian tourist who walks past and says, "Oh, it's lovely, isn't it?" Mate. Ah. So yeah. So sure. Yes is the answer, and my ears are always listening. My family laughs at me when I said, "Oh, that's an interesting sound." The sound of a door sucking as it opens, and the wind sort of comes through, and it makes this kind of noise. And there before long, I've got my recorder there, opening and closing the door multiple times.
So I can understand a little bit of where you're coming from. I used to, in almost a previous life, I used to work making signs. So like outdoor signage, indoor signage, and things like that. And there's a part of that when you work in a medium, sometimes you get so overwhelmed with, God, what is that made out of? And I'll walk up to a sign and I'll like tap my finger on it and I'll go, God, that sounds like aluminum, because it has a certain sound to it and it has a certain feel to it.
Yeah.
Metal versus plastic. Metal is going to be usually colder than plastic. So, I mean, it's that whole sensory thing. But if it's something that you were passionate about, you loved a great deal, and you really had a good idea of what it took to make the thing, whether it be totally, audio, whether it's a physical thing, whatever, that never leaves you. So I fully understand where you're coming from on that.
And the way you can source sounds, our armor foley, our sort of leathery sort of armor foley comes from my laptop bag, which has sort of, a fabricy sort of thing and a few dangly little zippers, and just shaking that in the right sort of way, has given us a great armor foley. And, making arrow sounds out of a punch on the desk for the thud of the arrow, for a swoosh of a stick past the microphone for the flight in, and then literally a ruler over the edge of the desk going
Sure.
and it's hilarious and fun and forever entertaining. And don't get me started about Star Wars sounds and the way they made some of those things. It's quite extraordinary. Very cool.
So, and that you're living a good life when you can passionately talk about and laugh about and feel that joy of what you do, and it sounds like you're definitely doing that with Syrinscape, and that's awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
Great place to be. All right, well, we've probably gone just a little bit long on the interview, but thank you so much, Benjamin, for giving us some insight into Syrinscape, and I definitely encourage people to check it out because it is a wonderful way to immerse people in a whole different fashion into their game. And it's not limited to sword and sorcery. There's sci-fi, there's all sorts of stuff. It's not limited to any game system, any genre. You can...
And as of today, it's not limited to Dungeon Masters either anymore. We now have these things called the PC sound sets. So there's a complete setup for a wizard with the sounds of some of his incantations like this. And then all sorts of different spell sounds and things. So if you're just sitting at the table and you've got your iPhone there, you can just, when you say I cast a fireball, you can just sort of touch the fireball sound and you get this massive explosion of fire. And so that's really exciting to us too.
Nice. Oh, that's wonderful. I'm so tickled by Syrinscape. I love it. Okay, we're going to move on here. We're going to talk about Hello, My Name Is. That's the opportunity that you Adventure Party listeners can tell us about the character that you play, that you enjoy playing, and that you played and you had such a wonderful time playing. Tell us about that character. We'd love to hear about it. If you go to galacticnetcasts.com, click to the Adventure Party page, and there is a link there that says, Hello, my name is. And if you click that, you can give us just a little bit of information about yourself, the character you played, the system that you played that character in, and why you think that character is so cool. We do ask...
What sounds you use with it?
we need to add another field for that.
Yes.
And yes, we do ask for your email address. No, we do not spam. We do not email people anything other than if we use your character's name and we talk about your character, we will email you a certificate suitable for framing that you can put up and say, hey, you know, my character was mentioned on Adventure Party. I want to thank you so much, Benjamin, for joining us on this great adventure. Where can people find out more about you and your work and about Syrinscape?
Yep, so go to Syrinscape.com. You can misspell it into Google if you like, but it's spelled Syrinscape. And you can, there you can download the app for free for all those platforms I mentioned and just give it a try. You can then register. You can, try a free trial subscription. So you can work out exactly what it's like to have absolutely everything working. You can jump on the forums that are there and ask questions. There's a lovely community of people there, and they'll help you out, or I'll help you out as well.
Yeah, you have a lot of support-based videos that I saw too, which I thought was really wonderful.
Absolutely everything, absolutely every sound set which we want, which you can buy, has a demo of that sound set, so you can hear exactly what it sounds like before you put any cash down.
Oh, perfect! Oh, that's wonderful. Why would you not get Syrinscape? Is what I'm asking right now.
Totally, it's great.
So some people are just jerks. That's why. Some people are just jerks.
I mean, it's free, for goodness sake. I mean, why wouldn't you give it a try? Yeah. So.
Give it a go.
And I want to thank you, Glenn, for joining us. And where can people find out more about you and Mistrunner?
You can find me on the Facebooks, Mistrunner RPG. You can also find Naked Hobo Productions and the Beaver Bunker on Facebook as well as on YouTube, or just follow me on Twitter at Naked Hobo.
I love that name. I've always loved that name, Naked Hobo. And you've also put out 3 short horror films that Prey, Handy, and the third one again is Hell. Yes, so people should check that out too. It's very, very good stuff. You can find out more
for free on YouTube.
Yes, you can find it on YouTube, and if you go to the Naked Hobo Productions YouTube channel, you can see those videos. So I highly recommend people checking that out. You can check us out at galacticnetcasts.com. There you'll find all the different social media outlets that we're on. We're on YouTube, and you can see the unedited video version of each of the different meetings of the Adventure Party, and we eventually take the audio from this and make an audio podcast version. We're a little behind right now. We are endeavoring to catch back up to get the audio, the RSS feeds up to date, but we are a little behind, and I do apologize on that. If you are listening to us on iTunes or Stitcher, take a moment to give us a review and let us know what you think. Your review, positive or negative, can help shape the show and let us know what we can do better, what we should do more of, or just give us basic feedback. Not going to ask you for a 5-star review, but if you feel compelled to give us one, by golly, we'll take it. Any review that you give will actually help boost our visibility. So I would ask, please, if you have a moment, give us a review. You can leave us feedback by emailing us at galacticnetcasts@gmail.com. or you can call the number 805-328-3966. You can also text that number as well. That number again is 805-328-3966, and leave a message, text us, give us some insight about what you think about the show. We'd love to hear it. Thank you so much for everybody for joining us at the Adventure Party. May your characters never die and your adventures always be epic.
Woo.